Over the past year, companies like Twitter, Meta, Amazon, Microsoft, and now Google have laid off a significant portion of their workforce. This has left many people in the tech industry worried about their current job security in the best case, or stressed about finding their next job opportunity in the worst case. As someone who has previously been laid off in the tech industry, here's some of the best things that you can do right now in this tough market, regardless of whether or not you've lost your job. The very first thing you need to get right is your mentality. Companies need to do what's best for their bottom line, and you should do the same, which means always put yourself first. The reality is, if something happened to you on Friday, come Monday there would probably be an application online to fill your role. You have an employee number for a reason, and that's because to most companies you're just a number. Because of this, it's crucial to be thankful for your employer for the opportunity, but to also remember that it's actually a mutually beneficial relationship. You provide value for the company, and in return they provide you compensation, nap pods, massages, ping pong tables, and free food. Okay, some of those benefits don't relate to everyone, but you get the point. Your employment at any company is largely a trade for your time and value for the company's money. And if that agreement no longer adequately benefits a single party, that agreement tends to end. So don't be blindly loyal to any single company, because if that agreement ends for reasons that you control or otherwise, you will be promoted to customer. Now that you understand that your employer is not your life partner, let's move on to the next point, which is to make sure that you update your resume while you have a job. Now, I know this is probably going to sound pretty random, but what did you eat for breakfast from Q1 of 2022 to Q3 of 2022? Same. I literally have no idea either. So please, for the love of everything that you care about in this world, take time to write down what you've done at your job shortly after you've done that thing. Especially be sure to document the metrics, if you're allowed, that you'll ideally use to make those things sound as impressive as I'm sure they were. Remembering to do this frequently can be really hard, so my best advice to you is just set up a quick recurring calendar invite that happens on every Friday so that you can quickly jot down the things that you did that week and why they were important. Also, make sure that wherever you're going to write these things down, it's a place that you can access that document anywhere in the world, regardless of whether or not you work for the company, i.e. not on a company laptop, because if you're no longer employed by them, you won't have access to that machine. Whether you keep track of all this in Notion, a notes app on your phone, or just using a TXT file that you edit with Vim like a psychopath, I don't really care. Just make sure that you do it. Without having super important notes like this you've accumulated over time to remember what you've done, your resume will suffer. Now that you have an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper that succinctly describes in the fanciest way possible all your life's achievements, you're ready for the next tip, which is to always be interview ready. And I know you're thinking, Kevin, I just got a job, I don't want to leak code anymore. But hear me out. I'm actually not suggesting that you leak code or study interview questions or system design problems every single day. Instead, what I'm suggesting is that you take the time to make sure that you've actually built a solid enough foundation so that when you do interview, it's like riding a bike. And I challenge you to name a single person who's forgotten to ride a bike. No one. The way I see it, building a solid foundation for interviewing even while you're employed is kind of like having insurance. If anything bad happens, you're covered. And I know this doesn't sound like a big deal, like you could probably just take a couple weeks and study up anyways, but if you think about it, in an environment like right now, you're probably competing against tens of thousands of incredibly talented engineers, and actually being ready right away and getting yourself into the process with a company that's hiring and has headcount right now might be the difference between you getting the job and someone else getting it a couple weeks later. Plus, staying interview sharp I think really is important for just helping yourself almost statistically have better chances of getting another job or getting multiple offers. And let's face it, having multiple offers is really good leverage for whatever company you're going to go to next. And as much as it sucks to sort of pay the insurance, hopefully you're not going to need it. But if you do, I really think the insurance in this case is going to be worth it. And let's face it, everyone buys the insurance. So now that you've added the $19.99 warranty to your card and checked out, it's time to move to the next step, which is networking. And I know, networking always sounds like a really hand-wavy way of saying make small talk with a random stranger and then beg them to help you, but that's not what it should be. And if you do it correctly, you're probably not even going to realize that you were or are networking. Ideally, networking is really just something that you do organically, and it's kind of just finding common people who have similar interests to you that might be able to help you, or you could help them in the future. The older I get, the more I realize how important networking is, and it's kind of funny because it really just feels like making friends as an adult. I feel pretty lucky at this point in my career that if I were to lose my job, I think I'd have a pretty good network to help me find my next opportunity, but let's not test that hypothesis. Friends in your network typically help you find your next opportunity by offering you a referral to their company. And this is where I think people don't actually realize the value that a referral provides you. Referrals are literally cheat codes because referrals literally put your resume at the top of the pile, and that pile might literally consist of of millions of resumes from different candidates at some of the largest tech companies that you could talk about. And by using a referral, a lot of times you'll actually end up with an interview at that company, which is as far as your friend can push you in the process. Once you have an interview, every single person is on the same playing ground and has the same opportunity. Whether you went to Harvard, whether you studied at a boot camp, you're self-taught, or you're the son or daughter of the CEO of the company, everyone has an equal chance. Once you have the interview, all that's left to do is simply perform. The best way to get good at performing is to practice through repetition. You will not feel good about your performance in every interview. I'm going to repeat that. You will not feel good about your performance in every interview. Why is repeating the same painful process over and over again absolutely essential for eventually succeeding? Well, I challenge you to name a single person who's gotten ripped by going to the gym once. Checkmate. And remember, passing every single interview that you're going to go through is not realistic, and that should not be your goal. Because, simply, sometimes there are variables that you can't control, and then you can't do anything about whether or not you pass or fail that interview. Instead, what we should index on, and what we should really focus on and try and improve, is the probability that you're going to pass any given interview. Interviews largely follow a recipe, and a lot like baking, if you follow the recipe, you're probably going to end up with a cake. Okay, maybe not every single time. I'm not very good at baking. But if you keep trying to bake the cake, hopefully you're going to eventually get one. I know I will. And let's face it, who doesn't love cake? So practice hard and often, and mathematically speaking, it's only a matter of time until you pass one of your future interviews and land a new opportunity. As a quick last note, I'm going to leave you with something that I tweeted recently. The sooner you separate your identity from your job, the better. You are so much more than your title, your employer, and the things that you do from 9 to 5. So never forget that. If you like cake and enjoyed this video, be sure to drop the video a like and subscribe to the channel for more, and I'll see you guys next time.